The X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to the X-Zone, everyone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. And you're listening to us on the Mutual Broadcast Network, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, and the all-new IBPN Radio Network. If you'd like to send an email, it's very simple. Here in the studio to studio@xzoneradiotv.com. Off air, 724-365 X-Zone at xzoneradiotv.com. We're on all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV, and our radio website, www.xzonerradio.com. My guest this hour is a lady I've had the pleasure of having on the show a number of times. Her name is Me-sah, and Me-sah opens pathways to transformation. The divine energy that flows through her body allows people to experience physical, emotional, and mental changes, spiritual growth, visitations from the divine beings, opening of extrasensory perception, the aha moments of realization, profound peace and relaxation. A few people have even had their gray hair turned to its original color. Oh, now she tells me. Me-sah has been involved in teachings of ascended masters for over 40 years and has achieved a direct connection to the divine. Through that contact, she is able to offer people an opportunity to come into more alignment with their own divine being. Joining me now is the one and only Me-sah. And Me-sah, how are you, sweetie?
I'm wonderful. How are you, Rob?
I'm just doing great. What have you been up to lately?
I'm pretty much the same stuff. I have a consciousness-raising group here in Santa Fe. Mm-hmm. And we meet weekly, having wonderful experiences of expansion of consciousness happening.
Right.
And other than that, working with my private clients.
Sure.
And keeping pretty busy, just doing this and doing a few radio shows along the way.
Just making all the necessary changes and helping as many people as you can, like you always have.
As many people as I can. As many people as I can, because I think that when you look at what's going on in the planet, how things are going to change is by the consciousness of individuals changing. And that, I think, is what's going to allow, this great shift that everybody is talking about is happening. But yet, when you look at what's going on in the planet, I don't see a lot. There are groups of people that their consciousness is changing, but the majority of what's going on in the planet, you got to scratch your head and say, what are people thinking?
Exactly, like something is, the wheel's going around, but the hamster's dead with most people.
Yes.
Why do you think there are so many people who are now experience an awakening and they have no idea what to do?
I think that part of what's happening is the paradigm is shifting. It needs to shift, obviously, because what's worked before doesn't seem to be working now on a large scale. And I think that people are confused about, well, we need a change, but what is that going to look like, and what is that going to be like? And for the most part, there's not enough cohesiveness of the people that are moving into a different consciousness to come together and to create something. And it's very interesting. Today I was watching a documentary about the eco-villages in Russia.
Right.
And how they started. They started from a series of books that talked about this mystic Russian woman who lived in the woods. And whether the story is totally true or not, I have no idea. They're fun books to read.
Why don't we do this, Me-sah? You and I have to take a commercial break. Please stand by. Exonation, my guest this hour is Me-sah. Her website is MesahHealingAndReadings.com. We'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
If you are looking for a safe, zero-calorie natural option to the harmful artificial sweeteners on the market today, Just Like Sugar is what you're looking for. Just Like Sugar is a wonderful natural alternative for those health-conscious people who choose a calorie-restricted diet with a great, pure, sweet flavor that tastes just like sugar. Just Like Sugar is a great natural option for people suffering from diabetes and may be useful in restricted diet programs where standard sugars are not allowed and does not cause a laxative effect of some other sweeteners. Just Like Sugar comprises a perfect blend of chicory root fiber, natural calcium, natural vitamin C, and Just Like Sugar sweetness comes from the natural flavors from the peel of the orange. Just Like Sugar is a natural alternative to harmful artificial sweeteners and will change the way that you believe all natural sweetener products taste. Just Like Sugar is available at your local Whole Foods markets, Wild Oats markets, Henry's, Sun Harvest, and many other fine natural food stores in the U.S., Canada, and worldwide.
Is debt beating you down? You need discipline. You need the Debt Ninja. If you've been caught in a financial trap and need to be set free, then you need the Debt Ninja. Want to stop those harassing collection calls? Start saving thousands in interest and fees and get out of debt fast? Then you need to call the Debt Ninja. The Debt Ninja will find the best companies across the country that will help you consolidate all your bills into one easy payment, reduce your payments by 30 to 50%, and get you out of debt fast. If you have unsecured debt of $10,000 or more, such as credit cards, loans, or medical bills, call the Debt Ninja for a free 15-minute consultation.
Call 800-824-9875. 800-824-9875. That's 800-824-9875. Call today.
The Debt Ninja.
Some spooky music there. Gotta tell you something. I feel like going out and saying trick or treat now. Exonation, my guest this hour is my good friend Me-sah. Her website is MesahHealingAndReadings.com. Let me ask you something, Me-sah. What is heart change energy or heart charge energy, and how does it work?
It's the energy that started to come through me. It's a combination of the Kundalini opening, and then at the same time there was divine energy that started to come down through me. I used to go up into that energy, and then almost 2 years ago it started to come down through me, and I call it heart charge energy because it comes through the heart chakra at the beginning. Now it's coming through every cell in my body.
Right.
But I still get this wonderful sensation in the heart. So that's why I named it that. And what happens is when people sit in the energy, they go through changes. It's raising their vibratory rate. And so it's been proving to be a very interesting experience to see what people are pulling in and how people are reacting and the changes that happen, and it's wonderful for me to do it. And it used to be quite difficult for me in my body because my body would shake so violently as this energy was coming through. But as my nervous system got stronger, now I will have tremors, but it's not uncomfortable at all. And, I think that it's so important that if we're talking about moving into higher consciousness, the way that happens is to increase the speed of the electron within the atoms, within the cellular structure, within the body. And so that's what this energy does. And as that happens, and as the speed of the electron increases, it starts to throw off the lower vibrations that have sort of gotten stuck in the atom. And then it allows the consciousness to expand and to come into the awareness, which we really are anyway, but we have not connected with that aspect of ourself until we have somehow sped up that spin at the electronic level.
Me-sah, let me ask you, how did you get started doing this work that you do?
It's been such a progression because I'm 72 years old now, and it started for me when I was in my early 20s, and I went on my spiritual search because I was not feeling any connection to the divine. And I've been through so many different steps along the way, and always with the teachings of the Ascended Masters. Those have always been with me, regardless of the other things that I was being involved in and looking into. And, I was ordained as a metaphysical priestess along the way, and just different kinds of things. And I would have lots and lots of I've had a lot of different experiences that would be phenomenal or spiritual or out of the ordinary, dealing with subtle energies and other dimensions and that kind of thing. And I just kept putting one foot in front of the other, and eventually I was getting a direct connection with Spirit.
Wow.
And eventually I was able to keep that connection, so that connection is there at any time. That's how I do my readings also. It's a channeled reading from my spiritual guides and masters. And then this energy started coming through, and my sense was that, okay, this is something that really needs to be, I really need to put this out there and do as much as I can of this, because it's obviously having such an effect on people.
What was your most pivoting moment, the moment that shook you to your very core in a good way?
Whoa, I've had several of those.
Okay, share a few of them with us then.
Okay. I will tell you one when I was studying in an esoteric spiritual order, and I was getting ready to be ordained. I was 30, this was in 1976. And I had come home. I was working as a musician at the time, and I'd come home, and I was hungry, and I was a vegetarian at the time. And I looked in the refrigerator, and there was nothing there except this big hunk of meat. So I thought, oh well, heck, I'm a pretty big hot shot. I'm about to be ordained. I can eat a chunk of meat. And
yes.
So I took a big bite of it, and I was over by the sink, and I swallowed it, and it got caught in my throat.
Ooh.
And I could not breathe. And I was trying to do a Heimlich maneuver on myself and bend over the sink, and it wasn't working, and it wasn't working. I realized that I was not going to get to the phone to call 911, and I couldn't breathe. And finally I had this very clear thought, I'm going to die, because I can't get this thing out. The only thing that was left to do was to pray. And I said, Jesus, help me. And that piece of meat, Robin, I kid you not, came flying out of my throat. It went over the sink. It hit the window on the other side of the sink and landed in the drain.
My Lord.
And I just looked up and said, thank you. If there was any doubt that you weren't there, I know you are there now.
I guess everyone needs that slap on the back of the head. in order to understand it sometimes. There are those people that you can say there is a higher power, and they'll say, you know what, I believe you. There are those people who say, you say there's a higher power, and they say, well, I don't know. And then you go to the third person, and they say, are you nuts? They're the people who get the whack on the back of the head.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you believe, or who do you believe is your higher power that you have the ability to communicate with?
I believe that I have what is called a Holy Christ self and an I am presence. The I am presence would be the God presence that is my true nature, my real being. And then there is a level of consciousness called the Christ.
Right.
Now, Jesus reached that level, and that's when he was called the Christ. And we all have that within our energetic makeup, although most of us are not living connected with that level. We're living in what's called the four lower bodies, which is the etheric, the mental, the astral, or the emotional, and the physical.
So does this, I'm sorry for interrupting you, but does this mean that we are on our way up?
Hopefully.
That scares me when you say hopefully.
Well, I mean, I think that the people that listen to their own inner voice, their own intuitive being, their own consciousness, the people that have the desire to improve, to become better, to reach higher awareness, those people are going to go up. It's the people that get so depressed or so discouraged or have so much darkness around them that they can't get out of it, that tend to stay in those lower vibratory rates.
Gotcha. So that little voice that we all hear inside of us. Now, I can remember, as far as back as I can, this voice that's always been inside of me. And you know what? Over the years, that voice has never changed.
Right.
I can recognize that voice in a crowd, in a stadium, not only because it's in my head, but because that is how familiar that voice is. Is that my connection to the divine, or is that just my inner self?
Well, your inner self is your connection to the divine.
Okay.
Okay? So, and that would be your intuitive voice, which is connected with these higher aspects of who you truly are. We are, as we're born into this world, we immediately start getting conditioning, and we start identifying with our mind and our body, and we think that's who we are. But that is not who we truly are. Who we truly are is, our true nature is really our divine aspect of ourself. So that never changes. That divine aspect of who we really are is always the same.
Okay.
Never changes. Everything else in the world that we experience in our physical existence changes.
So does that mean that inner voice, that connection to the divine, remains with us throughout our entire existence on this dimension, in the next dimension, in the next universe, whenever or wherever we go?
Yes. Unless we lose the connection to it. There have been instances where people have so misused the energy of who they are that they lose connection with it. And then they're kind of, a little bit lost.
Right.
But for the most part, yes, that's always with us. Because that's who we truly are.
Let me ask you, Mesah. Is there such a thing as a lost soul? A soul or a person that cannot be brought back from the negative side to the positive side?
Yes. And people don't like to hear that. And in the New Age, they all say, oh, well, we're all going to go through this shift. We're all going to ascend. We're all going to make it. That's not really true, because you can lose the connection with your divine being. And you can so misuse your energy that it's just not there. And that's what would be called a lost soul. And they cannot stay, their energy cannot continue to go on without that connection with God. So they will spin out.
Right.
Their energy will spin out. And it's interesting as that happens, these people often have a real magnetism about them because that energy is spinning out. And if you believe in reincarnation, they may reincarnate a couple of more times, actually, before all of their energy is actually gone. And at that point, their energy just disperses. Their soul disperses. They can't stay in that soul aspect of who they are.
Mesah, you and I have to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. Please stand by. When we come back, I would love to talk to you about your interpretation and your experiences with reincarnation, because that is a very, very popular topic these days.
Yep.
Nice having you with us again, Mesah. You always make me feel so good inside.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Exonation, Mesah is our special guest, Me-sah Healing and Readings.com, and we'll both be back on the other side of this news break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the Mutual Broadcast Network, XZBN, and IPBNradio.com.
Mutual Broadcast News, I'm Leo Ashcraft. Indiana child welfare officials have warned an organization that installed 2 baby boxes at firehouses where mothers can drop off unwanted newborns anonymously to remove them, saying they question their safety and whether women who use them could face child abandonment charges. 6 hospitals in Arizona have installed drawers in their emergency rooms that allow women to drop off infants anonymously, although state law...
So, Mesah, how have you been, my dear friend?
I've been really good, Rob.
Excellent. Glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. You are one of the hardest working people in this, how do I explain what I mean in my heart? In this endless work.
Well, it is endless in a way, but it's endless in a good way. Kind of like what you do.
You know what?
You're kind of doing the same thing here.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever told you about the dream I had when I was a kid. Well, not as a kid, but I've had this dream throughout my life. I go to sleep, and I wake up in this pitch black. And I remember the first time it happened, I wondered to myself, did I die?
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, these doors open, these golden doors open. And there's beautiful music.
Uh-huh.
And I'm looking into a chamber where there are 2 tiers. But in the middle of the 2 tiers is a throne. And sitting in the throne is a very majestic-looking person. White hair, blue eyes. Just emanating the feeling that you've got nothing to fear. Behind him is someone who appears to be his son. And on each side, there are 3 men sitting in the 2 tiers, so you've got 12 on each side. And the message I keep getting is, keep going. You're nearly there. Don't give up. You're nearly there. All of a sudden, organ music starts. It sounds like the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. The doors close, and I wake up.
What a fabulous dream.
I don't know what the heck that means. I'm still looking for an explanation from someone. I've had this all my life.
We should talk, because I have a good idea what that dream means.
Really?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel good. It scared the hell out of me the first time. But the second time wasn't as bad, and the third time, and after that it was, oh wow, when am I going to have that dream again? When am I going to have that dream again?
Yeah. It's interesting when this energy first started coming through me, and I would leave my body when it was coming through, because my body was going through such tremendous shakes and movements. And more than once I went to a place, I call it the throne room. And there was a big throne, and there was a being on it, and there were angels and other beings to each side.
Yes.
And I know who that is, so we should talk.
On air or off?
Whatever you want.
Let's talk on air.
Okay.
No, I've got nothing to hide from my listeners. I've always been very honest and open with them.
Okay.
Yeah. You also, the vibration, I wake up sometimes and I'm vibrating. What is that?
That doesn't surprise me. That's energy coming through you. That's energy coming to you. And that energy is coming from a God source, probably from your own God presence. And a lot of times at night when we're quiet is when we receive those energies because we're more able to. Our mind is shut off. It's not stopping.
Okay, I've got to get ready to go on air, but we'll pick this up on air. All right?
Okay.
Thanks, Mesah.
Sure.
Want Viagra at the lowest prices. Never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-837-1286 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 800-837-1286 to take your call now. Call 800-837-1286. That's 800-837-1286. Again, 800-837-1286.
Space, the final frontier. No, that's another show. Sorry about that. Exonation, my guest this hour is Me-sah. Her website is www.mesahhealingandreadings.com. Now, I'm going to share something with you, the members of the Exonation, about what happened off air during this commercial break. I was telling Me-sah about a dream that I have had throughout my life. And I'm going to share it with you because over the years, Exonation, you know that I do not hold anything back from you. What happens is I fall asleep, and I wake up in the pitch blackness. It's pitch black. When I first had the dream, I said to myself, am I dead? Then these two magnificent doors open in front of me. And as they open, I can see that they're gold. Now, just imagine something that you would see from Greek mythology. You know, the columns, the marble, the vines, there's even mountains in the background. Blue sky. And in front of me, sitting smack dab in the middle of this beautiful room, is a throne. And on the throne is a man. Behind the man and to his right is a man standing, and I perceive this person as his son. On each side, in two-tiered levels, on the top of each tier are three men, so that's 6 on the top levels, 6 on the bottom levels. And the message I'm getting inside is, keep searching. You're nearly there. Keep searching. The truth is there. Keep searching. And then, as that happens, music starts, just like you'd hear from the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. I just kind of zoom out. The doors close. End of the dream. Now, I don't know how many times over my lifetime I've had that dream. The first time I had it, I was scared. Then I remembered the man sitting in the middle and the other men in that room, and there was no negativity. I think it was the unknowing or not knowing that was causing my uncertainty. But over the years, I've looked forward to having that dream. So I was discussing this with Me-sah over the break, and she said, well, do you want to discuss it further? And I said, on air or off? She said, well, your choice. I said, let's do it on air because I do not hold anything back from my listeners. So, Me-sah, is that the story that I told you during the break?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so what is your interpretation of this? Because as I was telling it to you, you were snickering in a very, very, not sarcastic, but a very understanding way.
Yeah. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is there's only one energy that creates everything, which is what we call God. But there is a hierarchy in consciousness. So there are beings that have developed way beyond mankind's consciousness level. And some of those are what I call ascended beings because they no longer have to have experience in the physical world or worlds. So there is a being that is considered way up there, very hard for us to even consider what the consciousness of this being is. And he is called the Ancient of Days. Now, the Ancient of Days is referred to in the Bible as the Ancient of Days. His ascended name is Sanat Kumara. There's a long history with him and this planet, which is quite a story. He is one of the highest consciousnesses that we can really connect with and have any kind of experience with. And the beings that he sponsors as we go down the hierarchical scale, his son would be the being Maitreya, probably. And then Maitreya holds the level, the office of the cosmic Christ. When Jesus was baptized in the River Jordan, the person Jesus stepped aside, and this cosmic Christ consciousness came fully into that body. That was the consciousness of Maitreya. And he came in to have that mission of 3 years. And then he went back. Meanwhile, Jesus had ascended. And I won't get into the questions about whether Jesus was married and all that. We can talk about that some other time. Sure. But Sanat Kumara is alive and well, still in connection with the earth. And when you go up into those levels, because I mentioned to you my experience of being what I would call the throne room, is in these very, very, very high etheric dimensions. And so in your dream, you were able to reach into these etheric dimensions and have that experience and get that message. And that message is really telling you, you're on the right track, we're here, we're watching you, keep going, don't get discouraged. Because this whole process of coming back to who we truly are is not always done in one life. It rarely is it done in one life. Most of us have been working at it for a very, very long time. But your description of that fits my description of when I have been at that level of consciousness and seen that being.
But I have to ask you at this point, I was not doing what I'm doing now. So was this part of my past, or were they selecting me for what I'm doing now?
It doesn't make any difference what you're doing. It's not about doing. It's about being. Okay? So it doesn't make any difference what you're doing.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. Now, something else you and I shared during the break was waking up and vibrating.
Yes.
And once again, you laughed affectionately. And we had to come back on air. So tell me, what's the vibrating all about? No, I'm not talking about in a motel room gang with a quarter that you slap in there and the bed goes crazy. No. I'm talking about laying in bed with my beautiful wife. No, let's try that one again. I just wake up vibrating. What's that about?
That's that energy coming into you, which is an indication that you're opening, or you're open to these higher energies coming into you, into your physical body. I go through this every night. I go through this all the time. I'm vibrating constantly. Sometimes it's very, very extreme. Sometimes it's not as extreme. One night I remember it felt like I was being tickled inside all night. I was literally laughing all night. A lot of times it keeps me up. It's so powerful that it just keeps me up and I can't sleep. But the next day I'm not tired, because that energy is just flowing through. So when the energy comes through and your body has not, your physical body has not integrated to it yet, you will have that sensation of vibration. It's energy that's waking up in you, and it's energy that's coming down into you.
Coming down to me from where?
Your higher being, your higher self.
Okay, so for what reason?
That's a part of our growth into opening to who we truly are as God-free beings, our true nature.
So there's a lot more than just poetry in all the words that the hippies were coming out with in the 60s about good vibrations. Man, you got good vibes. You've got positive vibes. Were they tapping into their higher consciousness at that time?
It's hard to say, Rob, because there was so much drug use.
Yes.
And so drug use will give you an experience that feels like higher consciousness, but it is artificially induced. And it's harmful to the energetic envelope of the body. And when the drug wears off, then people come down very hard and they have damaged themselves. So whether they were really tapping into something or not, I would have to say that would have to be on an individual basis as to whether that was really true or not.
So what about these spiritual beings or shamans or people who use psychotropic plants to induce a different state that they claim to be connecting one with spirit? Do you buy that?
Well, those kinds of things will get you into the next dimension, which is the astral.
Okay.
Which is not a spiritual dimension. You have to get way beyond the astral before you get into any of the spiritual dimensions. But in the astral, you experience all kind of phenomenon. You experience people that have passed on but are still at that level. You experience all kinds of things. And for the most part, that's where they're going. And because it is so much of the phenomenon, and the conscious mind just loves phenomenon and attaches right to it, they feel like they are talking to spirits, which sometimes they are, but they're not very high spirits. They're of a lower order.
So based on the years that you've been working as a spiritualist, helping people, understanding their spirituality, helping others to learn their spirituality, what do you believe happens to us at the point where we leave this dimension, this reality, when we pass? What happens next?
We will go through the astral realm, which is the emotional realm, and we will do a review of our life. We will stay in the astral for a while, and that's the realm where all of our desires will be instantly fulfilled. So if I want to eat chocolate sundaes every day without gaining an ounce, I will experience that.
Oh, you devil, you.
I don't really eat that, but if I wanted to in the astral, I could. And I will burn through all of my desires, my desire body. And when that is done, I will go up into the next higher frequency, and I will continue to do that until I get into the heaven worlds where I may rest. I will be kind of in spiritual school. I will be counseled about my next life. I may be there for a really long time if I need to be, or I may be there for a short time. And then I will get ready to come back and have my next experience in a physical body. So we go through these different levels. And a lot of times when mediums will contact somebody like your Uncle George or whoever it is, they're contacting somebody on the astral that may talk like your Uncle George and may even be able to give some information about Uncle George, but it's not necessarily Uncle George. There's many, many imposters on the astral level. And most people don't know how to discriminate who's who and what's what.
I was just going to ask you, how do you know when you go to a medium or a channel that the information that you're receiving through this person is legitimate or not?
It's very difficult. You have to learn how to read the vibrations. You have to learn to read the frequencies. And that, for me, that has been quite a long process. And it's sort of, been a lot of trial and error for me. Now I can recognize my master's frequencies. I can recognize the different divine beings that I work with. And I can also recognize the lower beings that are pretending to be divine but aren't. But it's taken me quite a while to get to that point. So there's really, I don't know of any easy way to do that. You just have to learn how to do it.
Let's talk about reincarnation, because that's a very popular topic these days. How many times do we come back? And what is the sole purpose of reincarnation? Is it to get to the next plane? Is it to learn as much about reality in the physical body as possible? Why do we keep coming back?
You know, Buddha reportedly at the moment of his enlightenment saw his 100,000 incarnations all at once. He had 100,000 lives. So we have as many lives as we need to heal the perceived separation from our God self and to come back into alignment and into union with that God self.
Right.
So in my understanding, that's why we keep coming back. We have to keep coming back until we heal that perceived rift that we believe we're separate from God. And at the moment of enlightenment, when we experience that coming back into that oneness, and it becomes a permanent consciousness within us, and we have transmuted enough of our karma, because in all the lives we've had, when we are choosing actions, but we are not yet, quote unquote, enlightened, and so some of our actions are not the greatest, those actions will create a cause that comes back to us that we have to rectify. So we have to take care of our karma, and we have to reunite with our God self in a very conscious way.
But weren't we given the tools to work with in every religious philosophy that has come to fruition here on this planet? For example, Christianity. I'm a Christian. I read the Bible. And in the very first chapter of the Bible, it says, "And God said, let us create man in our image, in our likeness." Therefore, if we are created in his likeness, in his image, doesn't this make us part of him or her?
Well, God is in us. And God is anchored in us physically right behind the heart. You can't see it, because it's in a realm that's a little beyond our physical eyes' ability to see. It looks like a flame, and it's anchored right behind the heart. And the energy comes down from our God self, because my God self and your God self is the same thing as God. It's just an individualized aspect.
You know, you just said that heart with a flame, and I've seen a religious icon like that, and I just can't think of it right now, but as soon as you said it, it flashed in my mind.
This has been known, okay? It's been known, not by a whole lot of people, but it's been known. And so the energy comes down through the top of the head into that flame, and then it's distributed throughout the rest of the body, which is the energy that keeps us alive. When someone passes, that energy is taken up, goes up, and out. And without God's energy, we cannot stay in our physical body. We leave the physical vehicle, and we're on our way to the other dimensions.
All right, stand by, Mesah. You and I have to take our final break for this hour. Exo Nation, Mesah is our special guest. And if you'd like to contact Mesah, www.mesahhealingandreadings.com. Fascinating lady. It's been a great hour. Don't go away.
Listening to the X-Zone Radio Show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, www.xzoneradiotv.com. You're listening to the X-Zone Radio Show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, www.xzoneradiotv.com.
Here's George Foreman with InventHelp.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee a company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
To get your free inventor's information, call 1-800-352-4158. That's 1-800-352-4158. Again, 1-800-352-4158. A fee-based company.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and we're coming to you on the Mutual Broadcast Network, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, and the all-new IPBN Radio Network. You can always send an email, xzone at xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media networks, X-Zone Radio TV, and, of course, our radio website at www.xzoneradio.com. Me-sah is my special guest this hour, and her website is MeSahHealingAndReadings.com. Me-sah, first of all, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. It's always a great pleasure talking to you. And the work that you do with people around the world, are you seeing any common thread that is emerging from all these different people?
Well, that's an interesting question. And, you know, I'm not sure I do see a common thread. Each individual is so different. They're in such a different place. Everybody has their own reality that they're coming from that has been created through their own projections, their own understandings, their own perceptions. I think that people are starting to look for more. I think people are realizing that something needs to change within them and within the larger communities and countries and nations. And so I think there's a tremendous desire to have things different. I'm not sure that people know exactly what that's going to be, but it amazes me that more people are not more interested in their spiritual growth than they are. People get so caught up in the world, the outside world, and what they think they want and what they think is going to make them happy, and are not paying attention to their inner landscape, which is the true place where they're going to find happiness. That always kind of amazes me. I would love to see more people looking inside rather than outside.
Based on your ability to read and heal and all the other gifts that you have, how do you see the world of tomorrow?
I'm hoping consciousness will rise enough that people will be able to hold enough light to get the planet into the next level of consciousness. I don't think there's any guarantee of that. I think that it would be, all someone has to do is push a button and start a nuclear war. And I can't say I don't know what's going to happen. I hope for the best, and I think that the opportunity for the best to happen is there.
What is your final message for the X-Zone Nation tonight, my dear?
You know, you're either living vertically, you're either living inside and going up into the higher realms of consciousness, or you're living horizontally, going out into the world. Please consider going into that heart space, which is very different than the mind, because the mind will spin you around and around and around, but the heart space is what opens you up to your own divinity, to your own peace, to your own love, your own true nature. Mm-hmm. I think that if people were more practicing, more opening into that heart space, that we could see a lot of change very quickly.
So like the song says, open up your heart light.
Yes. Yes.
So what are you going to be up to in the next couple of weeks, next couple of months?
Pretty much the same thing, I think, but one never knows, because things could change very quickly with me, and Spirit moves me through things very quickly. But I really think that the work I'm doing now is pretty much what I'm supposed to be doing, at least for the foreseeable future. So I will keep pursuing that and hopefully being able to reach more and more and more people.
Now, you do online consultations for people around the world?
Yes, online, on the phone, through Skype. Absolutely.
You know, it's always so great talking to you. I love your energy. I love the way that you try to be a solution in a world that is filled with problems, my dear friend.
Well,
so thank you.
So enjoy talking with you, Rob, and I'm so honored that you shared that dream with me. Thank you so much. That's I just feel honored. That's
what friends are for.
That's true.
You take care of yourself, my friend. We'll have you on in the very near future.
That sounds wonderful.
Take care, Mesah. Once again, Explanation, my guest this hour has been Mesah. Her website is mesahhealingandreadings.com, and Mesah is spelled M-E-S-A-H, healingandreadings.com. Now, I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as we continue here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and you're listening to us around the world on the Mutual Broadcast Network, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, and the all-new IPBN Radio Network. Don't go away.